what you said about control, it's something that it comes up so much. It's like control what you can control. There's always things out of your control. So don't focus, like you said, on the Prime Minister, focus on what you can control in your own surroundings. And I think there's so much synergy between this pandemic in a very different way to when you said about your head injury, which the majority of people can remember in 2006 against Reading, because the control was taken away from you. And, it was about, your everything else around you was taken away, and it was about your immediate health and just whether you're going to be okay. And then it must have gone to, well, okay, I'm okay, but can I actually play football? And then can I actually play football to a professional level? One of the things I want to ask you, and it's completely different. We had very different experiences. Those listening probably will know my experience where you were in an induced coma. I was in a coma 4 years ago. And one of the things I really struggle with is because I'm a similar personality to you. And that's where I struggle with the pandemic is I like to be in control. I like to use every minute of my time. I'm really active. I hate being at home. Like I'm kind of one of those people. And when I came out of hospital, I struggled mentally a lot because I'm so used to being able to do things. I'm so used to being able to use my physicality. I train a lot. I'm not a professional athlete, but I do marathons and endurance runs. And, I couldn't even walk. And I found that very, very, very difficult due to frustration, and felt like I kind of couldn't find my identity. Like, who am I? And I wondered with yourself, how did you get through those hard periods? Because I know, again, I'm not comparing our experiences, but I know that feeling when everything's taken away from you and you're not sure whether you're going to be the same person again. How did you cope with those times? Because I can imagine it wasn't all like, oh, I'm just going to take one day at a time. And even though that's exactly how it should be, it's not always that easy.
No, you always reach a point where the frustration just overcome everything, because you try hard, and suddenly things you were, sometimes you have things you don't even think about because they just go, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that, and suddenly you can't. So then the frustration of, oh, I need to do that again, or I can't do this, and that things you are easily used to do. You speak every day. I had spoken every day, and I never had any issue speaking. And suddenly I was talking to people and they couldn't understand me. And one reason was that the words which are phonetically similar and sound similar, I was mixing them up. So if you want to tell someone that the phone is on the table, and then you say the cone is on the cable, then obviously in your mind you are saying phone is on the table, and the person next to you is telling you where, what, and then you get frustrated from that and you don't realize. So there were things, which obviously give you a feeling of, ooh, what's going on? Why they don't understand me, or why this is happening. Then you walk with the dog, and after 10 minutes you suddenly realize you have to go home.
Yeah.
And I used to run and train, and then suddenly I couldn't. So yeah, it's frustrating, but at the same time, I try to do things and concentrate on each step at the time, because I understand that certain things you only achieve by following the exact pattern of the steps. Like a computer always gets the right results because it just keeps following the same formula, step by step, task by task, and each step leads to another step. And then once you manage to do that, then you can complete the task. So I switched everything to that. And of course, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, okay, that might be it. So what you're gonna do if the career is finished? What you're gonna do if you can't do certain things? So in the back of my mind, I was preparing myself for the worst, but doing everything every minute to give myself a chance.
Yeah.
That I think the worst feeling is that if you have any regrets, I learned during the football career as well, that you can live with failures, you can live with defeats, you can live with that, when you've done everything what was in your power to prepare, and then things went wrong. Because we are only human beings. Sometimes you have a absolutely brilliant 3 days, you do exactly what you have to, you come, oh, it's cool, you prepare, you do everything, you come to the exam, and it's a disaster. It's the same with football. You prepare 3 days, you come on the pitch, and it's a disaster. So when that happened, of course, you're not happy. You feel the disappointment and everything. But when I knew that I had done everything what was in my power to prepare, then I was just saying, yeah, that's life. This is how it is. And this is what I wanted to do with the head injury, that every day I try to, I try to do anything I could the best possible way, that if everything went wrong and I never returned to the pitch, that I could look back and say, well, you give yourself the best possible chance, wasn't to be, we move on, we do something else. Is it a hard thing? Yes, it's easier said than done. But when you really put the energy and everything in each little step, trying to make sure that what you do actually give yourself the best chance, then I think you can, you sort of have the frustration, but you can be happy with little things. So when you put like a big task, and you might get easily frustrated when things are not really going fast, or you don't feel you're going there. But if you put really small, tiny steps towards the goal, and each little step you sort of go, yes, that's a good thing, I managed, and I can do next one, and I can do next one. If you look at this way, then it's true that, it helps. It makes you feel like you're making progress. And I was making notes in my calendar, because I had days which were very bad, and I had days were really good. And after a while, you just feel there is no progress, that you just, step on the same spot and it's not really moving, because your perception is completely different. But once I started putting the notes in the calendar saying, okay, good day, bad day, you suddenly look at the calendar and you go, oh, okay. In your head, it feels like maybe a couple of last days was not good. So you feel like a whole month was bad. And then you go, it's going nowhere. But then you look at the calendar and you suddenly see, oh, I have many more better days than bad days than last month. And you suddenly go, hold on a minute, or last week, or whatever it is. And then you go like, oh, hold on a minute, I'm actually getting much better, because I have better days and more days, and it goes like that. And then you suddenly realize better games days and then good days are happening more and more and more and more. And then, then it gives you the confidence, and it gives you a different perspective as well.
Yeah.
So that was one thing which helped me to deal with the frustration of when you make 2 steps forward and then you make 1 backward. But that was what it was. And I, as I said, trying to make these little tiny steps, each one without skipping. That was my focus, and it worked for me. And as I said, these kind of things are very individual, and there is many ways how you can achieve it. But obviously, different personalities needs a different approach, and different things work for different people. And I know what worked for me and what I would recommend to people, but it might not be their way of doing things. So, I think in this situation, trying to find people around and listen and talk to people around what they are saying, it's important. And I think the biggest help for me is when you have an opportunity to speak to someone who had the same experience, who was in your position where you were, and then suddenly say, oh, don't worry about it, this is completely normal. When I had it, I had that many times, but then it all went and initially became better. So don't worry about it. This is not something to worry. Luckily, but unfortunately at the same time, I didn't have anybody I could talk to with the similar problem. So I had to figure it out myself. But that's why I'm always happy to share my experience And I contacted Ryan Mason when he had this problem. I contacted Raul Jimenez when he had this problem, because I believe that sharing the experience, it's, you kind of give a bit of a reassurance and bit of a energy to the person who lives and is in that bad moment. It might give them, the sharing the experience might always gives a little bit of a help to not to have too much anxiety about what will happen.
I think it 100% does, and that's exactly why I do this podcast, because I think whether it's, yours was obviously a head injury on the pitch, but it doesn't matter because it's about that same feeling. You talked about Ryan Mason and Raul Jimenez, but even sometimes when I talk about things, I think no matter what, it's if you're going through that struggle, it's a way to help. Because it was interesting listening to you, because for me, I put so much expectation on myself where I was measuring myself to exactly what I was before, which I am now. But at that time, I've just been critically ill, and then I'm expecting that I can do all these things. And I think what I did was reframe it and do the same as you in a way where I was like, oh, I am actually moving forward, but not measuring myself on when I was absolutely fine before. So what do you think is the most important thing you've learned or you've grown through that period yourself? Is there anything particular?
I think it's really, you need to listen. You need to find the way to listen to your body, and as well, I think the biggest sort of impact is the recognition of that nothing lasts forever.
Mm.
That don't assume that you are good today, that you will be, wake up in the morning and everything will be that great, because you never know. Anything can happen at any second. That's why I think since then I really try to make sure that I live every minute of my life the best possible way, that I don't waste it, and then I feel happy, and I feel that I'm actually living the life, rather than surviving 1 week or taking oh no, I can have 3 days in the bed. Well, it's fine, but then the purpose of taking, if you had 300-year life, yeah, maybe take more time. Sometimes I would need that. I think sometimes I would, for all the things I would love to do, I would probably need 10-day week, but it's not. So I try to use every minute, and it's true. Sometimes it's tiring, yes, sometimes, but I feel happier like that. I think people should always find ways to not to be afraid and take on challenges. And actually, for me, every problem has a solution. Yeah, unless you reach some real problem which has no solution, but there might be always a solution. And there is the way you look at this. Some people, if you take a glass and you put water in it, just kind of halfway, you can say that the bottle is half empty or half full. Yeah. So it depends which way is. If you are the positive person, you say, "Oh, it's half full." And if you are the negative one, you say it's half empty, because you just see it the different way. But I have to say that I'm kind of a person who believes that for every problem there is a solution, and every problem becomes a challenge. So I take it as a challenge. You tell me it's impossible to do that, I will show you it's possible to do that, because I believe there is always a way to do things. And the same is with the dreams. I think people sometimes have a lot of dreams, but never find the day to say, you know what, I would love to do that. And my dream was this. Oh yeah, but now I'm too old, I'm this and I'm that. And there is millions of ways, not maybe to say, oh, maybe too much work, whatever. When I have a dream, or if I feel, oh, I want to do something, I don't worry about if I try and I fail, or whatever happens with it. But I just give it my best shot to say, do I want to do that? Yes, I wanted to play ice hockey game, professional ice hockey game, because as a kid, that was my dream. I retired age 38, and everybody tells you, you way too, it's way too late for that. But then I train every day. I have a synthetic ice in my garage that I skated every night just to make sure that I can catch the 20 years I couldn't do that. And I used to do this in my spare time, just because I knew that without doing it, I will not be able to go on that ice and even do anything in that goal. I wouldn't catch the puck, but I did. So I did it because I knew that that is a way of trying, and that was my dream, and I wanted to do it. The same was with my drumming. When I started drumming, my dream was to play a gig, like a proper gig. When last year I played a sold out O2 Arena as a guest with one of the legendary musician in Prague, then you suddenly realize, well, are you realizing that you are playing sold out O2 Arena with unbelievable musicians all surrounding you around on the stage, and full house? That's something where it looks like foolish and feels like, when you say, oh, one day I would love to experience that. Then you think, oh no, forget it. People tell you, oh, forget it, no chance, too late, you started too late, you've done this. There's always a way. And I think this is something I'm not afraid of failures. I just give it the best shot, and as I said, you take it. My job as well is a lot of responsibility and completely unknown, and that it can either go well or it can go wrong, or you can make mistakes, and it's going to be completely different to what I experienced. But if you never try, you never know. If you never take on something, you might never get awarded by achieving something. So you have to, at some point you have to do things which you believe you want to do, and you have to try. And if it goes wrong, who cares? But at least when you're 90 and or in the moment where you realize that, okay, I can't do things anymore, you sit back, you look back, and you think, I gave it the best chance. I'm actually happy, and you have no regrets. So I try to do things that I end up with no regrets. But of course, sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't work the best way, but that's the way it is. And I'm perfectly happy that nobody's perfect, nothing's perfect. People make mistake, or sometimes the circumstances doesn't allow you to do certain things, and then you have to do something else. But I think it's always worth to try to chase your dream or what you want to do. Just try to do it. That you feel good about it, not thinking, 30 years ago I wanted to try that, and now it's too late. I think that's not something which makes you feel good. So I try to avoid that.
I feel like I just want to jump off my chair and be like, yes, because I think society can limit us so much into this, like, well, he's a footballer, how could he possibly be a drummer on a stage? Or she's a this, so how could you possibly do that? Which I think those limitations can sometimes make us feel that that's all we should be in that box. And you said just then about it's something part of your job now, and you kind of want to pass down. And I was speaking to Eric Dyer at the very first episode of this new season on My Sporting Mind, and he was saying that Jose Mourinho is one of the strongest mentally that he's worked with. And I know obviously you worked with him as well. Is there any aspects out of him or other managers or other kind of role models that you then take to then, because now you're in a position where you're now becoming that person where you pass it down?
I think you always you shape people by putting them in certain environments. And I think when I joined Chelsea, I think Jose was the big part of the success because of his mindset. For him, the winning was all it mattered, and every game, and he just wanted to go and do the best and win, and if you can do it again, win, find a way to win. That was it. And I think with Jose, the first year when I arrived, or for a couple of years, we had that. We won the first title, and it was not the end of the journey. It was, yeah, you win, okay, you win again. Let's go and win again. And it becomes a part of the culture. And I think this is the part of the Chelsea Football Club now, that you literally, you are here to win. It's one of the values of the club as well, here to win, because this is ultimately why you're doing it for. Yes, you want to do it the right way. You want to do it. You want to do it that the way that you feel is right, and you feel proud about it. But initially, the main goal is you want to make sure that at the end of the day, you win.
I'm just laughing because you remember before we started recording, you mentioned about the blinds.
I told you.
For those that are listening and not watching, there's some blinds just like going down behind.
Well, I warned you that at some point the blinds will decide to.
I was
either
trying
go
not to
down
laugh.
or up.
But, yeah. Just the last couple of questions that I was trying not to laugh when you were answering that question. So in terms of that, what for you, what's the most important part of leadership and learning? Because from what I gather, you're kind of like connecting at the moment and making sure that communication must be really key and the things aren't done in silos, which must be really important in football, and actually your role on the pitch, because as a goalkeeper, I suppose you're kind of isolated at points.
I think in terms of the sort of feeling mentally prepared, and everybody, as I said, is different. I think being open and actually accepting and being brave to come out and say, I have an issue. Is there any way how I can find a better way to deal with it? And for people around it to accept it, I think it becomes more and more part of the strength rather than weakness. And I think that the issue at the moment I see in all that is that we carry this from the history. And sometimes you want to make things better in the future or in the present, you need to learn about what happened in the past. And I think this is for everyone to understand. And once you understand that, once you understand where certain things come from and why certain people do certain things certain way, it comes through that education, and then and as well from the environment where you are in. So, when the older generation, or the generation who is probably one generation above me, my generation still, if you showed any mental weakness or had anxiety of not, you were regarded as weak.
Yeah.
So basically, you don't cry, you don't complain, you get on things, no matter how bad you feel, you just shut your mouth and you go through it. If you need to run through the wall, you run through the wall. Because if you don't do that, people might see and look at you thinking, oh, this player is not strong enough, let's not play him. We want to have winners, we want to have these warriors, which are indestructible, and they have this and they have that. So basically, that was how, first thing, you go, oh, I can tell my coach I feel nervous. I can't tell my coach that I have these issues when there's too many people watching me, or whatever it is, because simply you would not have the confidence to say, well, if I say it,
yeah,
in that past, you were regarded like, okay, don't play the play, we want to win, and you don't want to have a guy who is nervous. Yeah. So I think this is the problem the modern football has, that people now finally get to the stage where they have the confidence in the environment to come out and say, well, actually, I have a huge anxiety, it's killing my career, because every time I go on the pitch and there is too many people, I don't know what to do. And once you relieve that stress and people try to find you the way to deal with it comes. But I think we have to still understand that once there is not a shift of whoever has any issue is actually weak and is not suitable for professional sport, if we don't reach that point, because it's not really true, because you can find a way to help these people to perform at the highest level anyway. And they have the talent, they have this, and because they have a little bit of an issue, it doesn't mean that you cannot overcome it and find a way to deal with it. But I think this is generally the whole generation issue still now, that people think that being open about it, it's not the moment to say, because they might feel that it will be used against them, rather than, okay, we need you, we like you, we know what you can do, and we need you at your best, so we're going to help you with this. So I think there is still room in improvement in professional sport, which we carry from the past. And you see now more and more people working with sport psychologists and working with, even having this conversation about, if you have any issues, just tell, because if you tell, we can fix. If you don't tell, then obviously you will be suffering in silence, and this is not what you want, because then you carry that again and again and again, and it does not help. So I think that the key from that is to be open, just to say, well, I feel about things like that, and I think that's important anywhere, working environment, sport, even at home. Sometimes you need to, get things out, to say, I'm not comfortable because this is happening, and what do you think? Because once you get more knowledge, or once you get more education, then you get ideas how to deal with situations. And I was lucky that I was always really attached to psychology. I love psychology. I like, it's fascinating sometimes to understand what the human body does, and what the brain does, what people do, different differences. And of course, in the high profile Premier League club, which is one of the best in the world, which I've been for many years, the expectations are huge every day. And I came in the league, and I destroyed every record for my first season. So basically, you put the bar so high that the expectation then
Even
becomes
more.
really, everybody thinks, oh, this guy, oh, well, he considered a goal. How come this guy considered a goal?
Yeah.
And you kind of feel like, well, I considered a goal because the guy hit the top corner. And then suddenly you go, oh, should he save that? So the things, accumulation of things then become the way that you need to find a way to deal with it. And because I was really studying, and I was really looking at how you can deal with certain things, I learned so many things, sometimes by accident, sometimes just because I was conscious about it. But that part helped me to overcome many issues. But I understand that not everybody is like that. Not everybody has the confidence to do things and take risks on their own. So you need to find a way to, to have environments where people are comfortable talking about issues. If they are, if I feel I'm not right, come, tell, we help you, rather than, oh no, just get, don't play him, he's not in the right frame of mind, which I don't think is it's a correct way. But it's been, for a couple last years, that's supposed, you were regarded like that as a player. If you admitted to some issue, then you wouldn't probably fear that the manager doesn't play you, which luckily now we moved on. And this new way of dealing with the whole situation, and people coming out and, speaking up about it, this is for me the most important, because maybe the next generation will benefit from it the most, because people will be more open to it, and actually there will be more things in place to help everyone.
Yeah, like you said, it's definitely from the past, and it's a learned behavior. I think it's a learned behavior that all of us can listen to, because it was what we were modeled as when we were growing up, and definitely so, I think, still for our generation. What was it then that made you be more open then? Was it modeled to you when you were younger, or something you discovered?
No, I think, I had, when I was about 12, I had a huge anxiety about conceding a goal.
Right.
So every game I went to the game, and I could feel, I was shaking, and I was feeling like, ooh, what if I concede a goal? Because for me, conceding a goal was the ultimate failure.
Yeah.
As a goalkeeper. So that really stressed me out. When you are 12, then you think like, what should I do? What should I do? Yeah. So there are two things, I realized that if I train the best possible way and I feel prepared, I'm confident. So you cannot tell people, oh, you have to be self-confident. It doesn't work like that. It comes from the work. So the preparation for me is the key. You prepare, you do everything you can. And once you are, that whole week you did perfect, everything you could to be 100% prepared, then you go to the game and you have no fear. You go there and you feel. But when you are 12-year-old, you sometimes don't think about it like this, and and it stressed me out. So then I realized that the moment the first goal went in, yeah, it completely relieved all my stress, because I'm like, okay, now it's done. Now I can get on with the game. So basically at that year, I sort of started thinking about what can be done. So I went to the game losing 1-0. In my head, I was saying, okay, it's already 1-0. They are winning. You don't have to worry. The goal is in, and then relax. But then, then you suddenly realize, I want to be winning. I don't want to feel I'm losing already 1-0. So basically, I came up with the concept when I was 13, which was probably close to 14. In my head, in every second of the game, the score was 0-0. So I during my whole career, I kept that concept. So basically, in any single game I played in my life, I ignored the score. I never look at the score, because it kept me just with the focus on what I have to do every second. So that was my thing. Do every single moment what you have to do. These little tiny steps. Each task has steps, and you go all over again, the same steps all over again, which is good because it gives you a feedback as well. When something goes wrong, you know exactly on which step it went wrong, so you can sort of learn from it. And as well, we missed the penalty. It's not my problem. That's not my job. So I ignored all these things, the referees, but the score was the main thing, because it guaranteed that I will play exactly the same game if I'm winning 5-0 or if I'm losing 5-0. And I kept that all entire. And when I played ice hockey game, exactly the same thing. When I play tennis, I do exactly the same thing. I don't care about the score. I just go each point, each step, and I try to do the best, because I know that without it, I will not win the point anyway. I will not win the game. I will not make a save. I will not make the pass. And so I just concentrate on that. And it literally took so much pressure off me during the games where I was literally like a very even emotion, even during 90 minutes, no matter how big the game is. And it's true that I played preseason friendlies behind closed doors where was nobody, and I played 90,000 stadiums, and I played exactly the same way, because my concept in the head is exactly the same way, and actually there's no difference. And this is something which I came up with for myself. Nobody told me, nobody taught me. This is something I came out with myself, which worked, and probably with more knowledge of how to deal with certain situations, it became even better. But it's true that it's been probably the key for me to be consistent over so many years. And it's true that nowadays in modern sport, people try to use similar ways for the athletes, that they know what to do, how to deal with pressure, how to prepare, how to be consistent, so I think that's the way forward, because the expectations are high now with all the pressure from the social media, which comes up together with it, because if you are an individual who likes really to watch what people think of you, then of course it might play a big part. So there's all little things which probably will be important in the future, but I believe that the world now in general in professional sport try to make sure that the players are looked after in every single aspect, not only physical, but in terms of the mental health, which is obviously the biggest step forward.
Yeah, it's almost like taking the distraction and the emotion out of it. When you were talking, it really reminded me of one football, when you take a penalty, because we see so much that it's not about the skill there, it's about whether they can cope with the emotion or the distraction. And also in rugby, I've heard this a lot in terms of when scoring a try, where if you just go through the motions, no matter whether you're training or scoring a try in the World Cup final or something, it's no different, because you're not implementing what if into it. So it's so fascinating, and there's so much. I feel like I should wrap up now, because I've been talking to you for a long time. But it's so intriguing getting into your brain and so much learning. So I suppose my final question, even though we've covered so much, is just what would your message be to anybody who is struggling at the moment? But there's so much that we can take out of this conversation already.
Well, I think it's really to be, for me to admit to that you need help, or admit that you would like someone to give an opinion and sort of advice. For me, is not the weakness. For me, it's a strength, because you are conscious about that you reach your own limit, and then probably it's wiser to use someone else's experience to help. So I think people should be open and actually find their inner strengths to say, yes, I don't feel well. Yes, I'm struggling with this. Yes, is there any way you can offload a bit of the pressure, or is there any way people, I can deal with that better? Because that will obviously help, and as well, feel it's as well for the environment to, or for the society as well, to respect that certain people have different issues, and rather than look at them of every week, is to say, okay, there is a way to help. And I think that's, for example, I think the message, if we really needed to have one message, would be really be open and actually, try to share the struggle, if there is one, and try to find someone who will give you the better advice to deal with it. Because we always say, there's a Czech saying that more heads, more knowledge, or more brains, more knowledge. If we take it like that, it's true that if you have a team of people thinking about something, or one individual, obviously more people will probably come with better idea and more ideas than just one. So if you struggle in silence on your own and you don't know anymore what to do, then obviously if you speak to more people, they might come up with much better solution than you, and it might help. So this is probably the best way, to be brave enough to admit if you don't feel well.
And I think quite often when you speak out about how you're feeling, you'd be surprised how many people actually feel the same, and which I think makes you feel like you're not so isolated in what's going on with you. Thank you so much, Petr. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And thank you so much for everyone listening. You can catch up with any episodes you've missed on Apple or Spotify. We've had footballers such as Eric Dyer, Adam Lallana, Ben Foster, Sam Hutchinson, and loads more. And remember to visit sportinglife.com ahead of the rest with 160 years of sporting knowledge and integrity. And if you are really struggling, you can reach out for help. As Petr said, it just takes one phone call. There's charities such as mine, the Samaritans, and Sport in Mind are always there to help. People do understand and care. You can also text SHOUT to 85258 if you don't want to talk on the phone. Take care. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll speak again soon.